You're watching PCC TV, Pinellas County Connection Television, a division of Pinellas County Communications.
Welcome to Heritage Village, the pride of Pinellas County. It is certainly a very special place. Here, you can walk brick paths, like those that the early settlers traveled as you wind your way through more than 20 historical structures from Pinellas County's past. At Heritage Village, you can see what life was like for those folks who call the Pinellas Peninsula home. How did Heritage Village happen to come about? It all began back in 1976, America's bicentennial year. It was decided a park should be built to preserve the rich history of Pinellas County's past. Once it was opened, historic buildings were relocated from all over the county, restored and opened to the public. The buildings here represent a variety of periods and lifestyles in the history of our county. You're already at your first stop on the tour, the Visitor Center and Gift Shop, which was originally a 1930s beach house built on Madeira Beach. Make sure and pick up a map and a schedule of the day's tour times to help make the most of your day here. Although tours are self-guided, several of our buildings feature costumed volunteers who will interpret the lifestyles of Pinellas County's pioneers and early residents. The times of these tours vary daily depending on the availability of our volunteers. Before 1 o'clock during the school year from September through May, some of our structures may be closed so that we can accommodate the more than 15,000 school children who visit us each year. It is really something to introduce the past to our young people. They have so many questions. We don't charge admission to Heritage Village, but donations to help preserve these important structures and our county's precious heritage sure are graciously accepted. Remember, you are one of the most significant partners in the effort to save this valuable part of our county's identity. Next stop, the Pinellas County Historical Museum. The Ralph Reed Room is where you can see an overview of our county's history through a number of displays. Look at that, a wooden potato masher. You don't see that anymore. Why, I remember when... never mind. From the Native American and Spanish period to the pioneer days and other times in our county's history, these exhibits give you a real look at Pinellas County through the ages. You can even see how the county defended itself during World War I with the establishment of a home guard. Come on into the Roy Helms Room, which features both permanent and special exhibits depicting various themes in local and state history. Did you know Pinellas was once one of the largest citrus-producing areas in the state? Imagine those farmers bringing in the harvest, just browsing our collection of citrus crate artwork from packing houses, which called Pinellas home. Well, you can almost smell the sweet aroma of the orange blossoms. Books, books, and more books. What an interesting place. This section of the museum houses our library and archives, a treasure trove of more than 2,500 volumes, together with photographs, maps, audiovisual collections, and a host of other materials. These are available for you to look through. Just contact the curator of collections for assistance. The real magic of Heritage Village begins when you step out onto the grounds. The sights and sounds will transport you back to a simpler, less hurried time in our county's past. Come on along. Watch your head. Here at the Mcmullen Log Cabin, the oldest existing structure in Pinellas County, the doorways were built for the average person of 1852. They were about 5 foot 2 or 3 inches tall. Look at these cypress and pine timbers in these walls. See those holes? That's just plain old ventilation. You see, Captain James Paramore Mcmullen who was afflicted with consumption, what we now call tuberculosis, was told to move to Pinellas because the doctors told him the climate might help him recover. The captain tended a number of citrus groves, an industry which would later define Pinellas County. And his wife Elizabeth, well, she tended to midwifing, delivering 55 children right here in this very cabin. This place was almost lost to fire in 1976, but it was restored and now safe in our village. Here's the Daniel Mcmullen home for the fiber arts. This house was built in 1868 by Daniel Mcmullen, younger brother of Captain Mcmullen. Believe it or not, the family lived in it until 1992. The finest crafters around feature their handiwork and traditional methods. Here volunteers demonstrate quilting, rug hooking, spinning, basket making, weaving, and embroidery, each guild setting up their operation in their own room. Spinning, weaving, sewing, and such were not just hobbies. They were required by the self-reliant settlers in such a remote place as Pinellas. Families had to feed and clothe themselves. See the skill of these craftsmen and women here from September through May. You know, when you're in Heritage Village, you have to remember that you're in the private homes of everyday people who made Pinellas what it is today. Real families with hopes and dreams. In the spring of 1896, the plant summer house was built for skilled workers constructing the Bellevue Hotel and other structures nearby. In fact, many of the homes built by the Plant Railroad Company for their workers are nearly identical to this one, and you can still find sister houses in Clearwater neighborhoods. A model of efficiency at the time, all four of the house's fireplaces share a common chimney, which allows the entire house to enjoy the warmth from each of the fires. Such details like this were decorative as well as practical. These wood moldings are called picture moldings. Rather than drive nails into the plaster and lath wall, pictures and paintings could hang from hooks in the molding and preserve the walls. Just looking at this house, it's easy to imagine how families living here must have lived day to day, celebrated holidays, and made their home here in Pinellas County. And this is the majestic, beautiful social center of its day. Why, a visit to the House of Seven Gables, with its turn-of-the-century Victorian architecture, was always a pleasure for us old-timers. After all, at one time, this historic building was used as a private club, a tea room, a boarding house, even a parsonage. The house was originally situated on a high bluff overlooking Clearwater Bay. Imagine that view. No wonder this porch was a favorite place in the house. Built in 1907, the home contains 13 rooms and is beautifully paneled in this wonderful southern yellow pine heartwood. Aren't those beaded panels handsome? Shh! I'll sneak you into the formal parlor, where the owners of the house would have entertained only their most important guests. The furniture, portraits, and elegant chandeliers set a beautiful mood. And in a time without radios, phonographs, or television, the piano provided entertainment for the gathered revelers. The old Heritage Mercantile, which stood in St. Petersburg, sold all manner of goods to the local resident. Back in the 1920s, our hard-earned money seemed to go a whole lot further. Why, a typical family's grocery bill for a week, including butter, eggs, flour, and other such staples, would run about $3. Mercantiles such as this also provided a means to get other goods and services besides groceries. Even in the sleepy corners of little old Pinellas County, nearly anything could be ordered by catalog, including automobiles, farm implements, and even kid houses from Sears and Roebuck to be assembled on your home site. Since mercantiles were hubs of commerce, naturally they expanded and began to serve as a mechanic's garage to repair the early Model A and Model T cars, trucks, and tractors, which helped farm the land, and as a filling station for gasoline. Many thanks to the Pinmar Auto Club for their efforts to restore the store and garage. Finally, if you wanted to get the latest news, well, you could drop in, pick your mail up at the post office, which also served as a phone exchange, and if you had time to stay a spell, perhaps you could while away an afternoon and catch up with the local gossip with some of your neighbors at the barber shop. Get your ears lowered at the same time. Pretty frightening, isn't it? You should see how big your eyes got. Our country doctor's office here in the Walsingham house, we've restored the interior with all the tools of the trade. Oh, medicine here in the early years of the 20th century, as it was everywhere, was crude at best when compared to today's standards. Illnesses which we don't give a second thought to today, such as the flu, took our loved ones away. Even such natural processes as childbirth were riskier then, with infection and no antibiotics to rely on. But the people of Pinellas needed a doctor to tend to the everyday ailments which affected them. And it was all here under one roof: office, laboratory, examining room where he would determine his patient's condition and decide if surgery was in order, and apothecary, where the doc would mix prescriptions to take away a pain or effect a cure. Sometimes these folk remedies would work. Other times, well, medicine wasn't an exact science then. As you can see, Heritage Village is more than just a place. It is a living, vibrant part of our community and ourselves. History is here in its truest form. So mark your calendar for these special events held each year to promote the cultural and historical heritage of Pinellas County. Each spring we have an antique car show courtesy of the Pinmore Antique Auto Club, as well as sheep to shawl and more, an entertaining lesson in how raw wool sheared directly from the sheep made its way to cloth for everyday wear for early residents. A rug hooking demonstration complements the activities, showing how people recycled remnants of cloth into decorative art. Each summer, we host an annual Civil War reenactment with all of the action, drama, and excitement of that bygone era in our nation's history. Another increasingly popular event is the Pinellas Folk Festival, held on the last Saturday of January each year. This annual celebration of traditional Florida folk music features local musicians, storytellers, skilled artisans, a special children's area, and delicious food. But by far the biggest event during the year is the Country Jubilee, which is held on the fourth Saturday of every October as a celebration of our area's history and our pioneer ancestors. Watch as history comes to life when we recreate a gala event reminiscent of a century-old fair with lots of fun and music. It's truly a fun time for all. Want to learn more? There's a variety of workshops throughout the year for adults and children alike, sponsored by the Pinellas County Historical Society. A sample of past offerings includes a session on collecting antiques, how-tos on preserving your family heirlooms, writing your life histories, storytelling, and more. From time to time, there are special craft demonstrations, lectures, performances, and other presentations illustrating the history and culture of Florida's various ethnic populations and pioneer settlers. For more information, be sure to pick up a schedule of events at the Visitor Center before you leave. If you would like to take part in preserving a piece of Pinellas County's history, there are lots of volunteer opportunities in Heritage Village. You'll have a chance to meet new people, learn new skills, and have a good old time. To volunteer, call the Curator of Education. We hope that you've enjoyed this brief tour of Heritage Village. But now, if you think I've covered all the historical fun and educational places and happenings, don't be fooled. We've only begun. Now it's your turn to experience firsthand all of the delights and visions of a simpler time gone by. Don't forget to pick up your map and tour schedule at the desk. Come on, join me, step outside, and begin your wondrous journey into Pinellas County's past.